just get up when I wake up. And I don't know, the last 4 or 5 years, it's been early mornings. And when I was in my 20s, it was always night. It was always the night time. You know, I'd get up at 11 and stay up till 5 or 6 in the morning. No, I just find it more peaceful. Inspiration's always mine, it always goes wherever I am. I worked for 7 years without showing anybody anything. But when I started exhibiting, I think it was when I started to be a little bit more concerned about the outcomes of what I was doing, because it all of a sudden became public and wasn't private anymore.
I always find when I start painting and that again, I feel much more relaxed. It's definitely a good mental. I kind of find it like, sort of like meditation really. I like the process of discovering what you find as you do it as well. Always something that I was interested in doing. Mum painted, so I think having her around doing that as well.
There'll be 2 this size.
Yeah, okay.
Like, do you jam well together artistically?
It's been quite nice.
I'd say there's no strike discord. It seems to come with a lot of ease.
So we're working on it collaboratively. So Scott stamped all the base of that, and then I went over top of it. So there's loads of colours underneath.
You do one part and Scott does another?
I think it's just evolving, doing those fractally shapes, but also I'm learning the technique of stamping now. Which this has all been stamped, this white. There's these stamping different colours that Scott did.
Seems to be a good way for me to work. Through all the experience I've got not a firm idea of what a thing will look like before I start, but I've got an idea of how much time it will take, and so once I understand that, then I don't get irritated or upset by the amount of time. In fact, if anything, I kind of get a little bit anxious that I don't have enough time. The amount of work that is involved doesn't frustrate me at all. It's actually pretty much all pleasure. Keeps me off the streets. Yeah, so this is just drawing now.
This is the technique, like, because it's so time-consuming and detailed, and so it's not real gestural and loose. Even though it kind of has that quality as well about it, it's kind of interesting because all the work involved takes lots of time. Yeah.
You can write it out and restate it again.
Wow, so much to it, isn't there?
Well, yeah, and if I want to put more in it.
Whether you put more into it and back, then there'll be confusion at this point between what's going on inside and what's...
But I also want to do more cell work on there too.
Put a wash over. You've got to knock the colour back, obviously, but allow some of it to come through.
You're starting to feel anxious.
Oh, just I know how much work there is to do. Go from 12 hours a day to 18 hours a day. So. For me, I figure it out as I go. I never really have
solid idea of what I think you do, Scott, more than me.
Mostly an intuition, eh?
Yeah.
Because it's stamping, you apply pressure here, so the paint gets pushed out to the edges. Around the outside of each of these squares, there's a little ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I put that black wash over it, it'll change the white to grey, but highlight the edges.
Nighttime painters.
No money to pay for that.
Why do you have a coffee?
No, I'm having tea.
You didn't think what?
That it was going to stay like that.
No. Half measures.
Especially when you're drinking.
Come at the right time for the action coming. I wanted to be really, really wary because I knew as soon as I picked up and started stamping, people would go, oh, you're trying to just rip off the Aborigines. It's the best definition of Western culture, which is geometry, the square. You know, we're fully controlled by geometry. We invented it, we discovered it, we use it. I could legitimately start stamping, oh good, oh yeah, squares, geometry, perfect. Takes a lot to stop me. As soon as I started painting again, I knew exactly what to do.
Do you know about that one?
No. Because that wasn't in my field of vision, it was hidden. It's amazing what being indolent can do for you.
If I've had a big break, even now, like coming back to it, it's always so nice just to get back into that process.
Yeah, so it's quite relaxing for you.
Yeah, totally. And it can take my mind away. Or it can help me think about things too as well, if that's what I need to do.
And it makes you big.
Yeah, and it makes me tall.
You know, the thoughts I have every day, just standing here doing this.
About the art or about everything?
Just about everything, yeah. Just, you know, when you're... I guess because it's not a repetitive task, it's always engaging, so it's just, you know, the mind is always engaged, so continuously thinking all the time. It doesn't deaden one's curiosity with this job. This would be probably maybe 10 or 11 coats by now. The landscape of the sky and clouds is so intermeshed. It's forming into each other.
Who is the boss?
Well, it depends on what is happening. Boss, you're the boss of the house.
I'm not.
You are. I'm the boss of the studio.
Really?
Yeah.
It's new to me.
No, man.
Don't listen to him.
You're the boss. You are.
It's
You're the only one who's got a licence. No bosses, is there?
No.
No. We don't have hierarchy around here. Come down here and the moon was over here and so it was shining brightly as cloudless night. It'll lose this lovely sheen that it has as it dries, but then when it gets glazed, that lustre will come back again.
It's quite exciting, and it's like at this point, and it's funny how I kind of start to feel slightly detached from it. I can't quite believe that I've done that work. It's become something else.
Always having a vision all the time.
Yeah.
And even though you may not think you've been thinking about it, you probably are actually unconsciously making